What if events went differently, and instead of letting Bart Allen carry the weight of the Speed Force alone, Wally West chose to carry him too, as a son. Welcome back, fellow watchers of the Multiverse. I'm Max Charlebois, aka MissedThePart, and today for a special Flash Week episode, we're diving into an alternate take on the Flash Rebirth and Young Justice Volume 2, a tale of legacy, grief, and healing, as well as family. This emotionally rich, continuity-driven storyline was made possible by the amazing support we received from members of the monthly Watcher tier, who help shape stories like this, and even contribute to entire themed weeks, just like Flash Week. This week was entirely contributed by Ian Coyne, so I want to give Ian a massive community shout out here for making the Flash Week possible. If you want to be a part of building these moments, whether it's family drama, speedster chaos, or crossover madness, consider joining the team. We have the monthly Watcher tier, the Watcher 5 tier, and the Watcher of the Multiverse tier. That being said, I do want to give a massive shout out to everybody who has been supporting the YouTube channel, who has been commenting. Again, I can't thank you guys enough, so it really does mean a lot to me. I see you guys in the live streams, I see you guys in the Discord, I see you guys everywhere. So again, from a watcher to another watcher, thank you so very, very much. But that being said, let's take a breath and open your heart to the story of a speedster who needed a second chance, and the one who gave it to him. This is What If Wally West adopted Bart Allen. The Speed Force had returned Wally West to the world, but not to the center of it. In the wake of Final Crisis and Flash Rebirth, the universe had reassembled its pieces. Barry Allen was back, the Justice League was rebuilding, and Central City once again had its original Flash. Wally, who had carried the legacy for a generation, who had made the Flash more than just a name. It felt like he'd become a living memory, a fast-moving ghost that no longer had a place in the present. He loved Linda with every beat of his heart, and their children, Jai and Irie, were miracles born from lightning. But Wally often caught himself staring out the window longer than he meant to. The kind of quiet where only someone who had died and come back could dwell. Miles away, Bart Allen was experiencing something similar, but louder, messier, and raw. After his resurrection during the battle with the Legion of Superheroes, Bart had returned from the dead younger than he'd been when he died. Once the Flash in his own right, once a Titan who fought beside legends, he now found himself back in the body of a teenage impulse, reborn into adolescence, stripped of authority, and unsure if his experiences as a hero were even real to anyone anymore. The memories of dying at the hands of the rogues haunted him. He'd fought and bled and died for this world, and now he was back to being treated like a kid with hyperactivity issues. He had voluntarily stepped away from the Teen Titans, needing time to recalibrate and make sense of the swirling timelines in his mind. Too young to lead, too old to be dismissed. And so Bart wandered, speeding through silent cities, scanning through tomorrow's headlines, searching for a version of the world that made him feel like he mattered. That was when it struck. A rip in the Speed Force tore through Keystone City, bending time like glass under pressure. Clocks froze mid-tick, stoplights blinked out of order. Entire blocks looped through the same 3 seconds of motion, like a scratched vinyl record. Local authorities couldn't see it, but Wally did. He was in the middle of bedtime stories with the twins when the tremor hit. The pull of the anomaly was unmistakable, like a scream echoing through the molecular fabric of the Speed Force itself. He suited up. By the time he arrived, a second blur of yellow and red was already zigzagging through the chaos. It was Bart, untethered, spontaneous, reckless, and brilliant. Together, without planning, they moved like a mirrored engine. Wally closed off the temporal loop, while Bart neutralized the tachyon echo with a frictional vortex. In minutes, the city was quiet again. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was exhausted. The two speedsters stood side by side beneath a flickering street lamp, their costumes battered, their breathing steady. Bart was the first to speak. "I died once," he said, eyes fixed on the warped sidewalk beneath them. "It hurt more coming back." Wally didn't reply right away. He looked at Bart, really looked at him, not as a junior sidekick, not as the heir to a name, but as someone only he could understand. "I know," Wally said softly. "So did I." That moment, 2 generations of Flashes bound not by the Speed Force, but by loss, was when something shifted. That night, Wally sat with Linda at their kitchen table while the twins were asleep. The conversation wasn't long, but it was weighty. Wally confessed that he saw too much of himself in Bart, drifting, uncertain, desperate for purpose. He had a family now, a stable home, something solid. Why not offer that to Bart? Linda, as she always did, met him with quiet grace. "If he says yes," she said, "then this house has a room waiting." Bart didn't say yes right away. When Wally made the offer the next day, Bart laughed at first, called him Uncle Daddy, and asked if this was some kind of pity charity for washed-up speedsters. But then he looked into Wally's eyes and saw no judgment, no obligation, just open arms. Still unsure, Bart went to see Iris West. She opened the door before he even knocked, wrapped him in a hug that felt like a lifetime in the making. "You're the grandson I never got to raise," she whispered, pressing her cheek against his temple. "Don't let that stop us now." The next morning, Bart Allen moved in with the West family. Jai and Irie took to him instantly. He was the perfect blend of older brother and chaos incarnate. Linda kept him grounded with chores and curfews, refusing to let his speed excuse his messes. Wally, for his part, found something he hadn't known he'd lost, a reason to keep running forward. They trained together, ate together, argued about cartoons. Bart began showing up for patrols with Wally in the evenings, and sometimes stayed out a little longer to race the sun back home. He still carried his trauma, but now he had someone else to carry it with him. And one night, while helping Irie beat Jai at Mario Kart, Bart shouted across the couch, "Hey Uncle Dad, we're out of popcorn." The nickname stuck. For the first time since returning from the grave, Bart Allen had something he thought was lost to time, a normal life. Not just patrols in peril and the expectation to be the next great Flash, but cereal bowls stacked in the sink. Arguments with Jai over whose turn it was to take out the trash. Linda telling him to slow down not because he was a speedster, but because he was about to knock over a lamp. It was mundane. It was maddening, and it was perfect. Under the roof of the West household, Bart began to feel like a real person again. Not a paradox, not a resurrection project, not a remnant of a future gone wrong. Wally, now a seasoned father of 2, didn't try to control him or mold him into anything. He simply trained him, quietly, patiently, every morning at dawn. Bart's style had always been unrefined, bursting with energy and unpredictability. Wally worked with that chaos, helped Bart shape it, not erase it. "You're not broken," Wally told him during a sparring session. "You're just sharp in places no one's figured out how to hold yet." They started running missions together, short bursts in Central City, crowd control in Keystone, cleanup after multiversal tremors that left reality a little cracked around the edges. On more than one occasion, they saved the day, not with brute force, but with sheer synchronicity. Bart didn't call Wally his dad. Not really. But when they moved together, it was like watching heart and lungs breathe as one. But speed couldn't outrun grief forever.
Bart still woke in the middle of the night sometimes, drenched in sweat, his mind filled with fractured visions, dying at the hands of the rogues, watching the lightning crackle over his own broken body, standing alone in a future that never came to pass. His past wasn't just behind him, it was inside him, stitched into every second he spent awake, and with his memory of alternate timelines intact, he knew things. Dangerous things. One evening during dinner, Bart casually mentioned a timeline where Wally vanished into the Speed Force for good during a crisis yet to come. Wally froze mid-bite. Linda's fork clinked against her plate. The room felt suddenly smaller, the lights harsher. Not this world, Bart added quickly. A different one, probably. But the damage was done. Bart knew too much, and he couldn't help but share it. It became a point of friction. Wally urged him to stay present, to live here, now. But Bart had been alive in 1,000 nows. They blurred together, and fear of loss clung to him like static electricity. Meanwhile, strange distortions in the Speed Force began erupting across the city, blips of red lightning crackling across buildings, warping metal, triggering devices miles away. At first, they assumed it was fallout from the usual Speed Force instability, but then the pulses started talking back. That's when Redline revealed itself. A synthetic consciousness born from corrupted Speed Force echoes. Residue left behind by Thawne, Zolomon, and even Wally's own darkest moments during Heroes in Crisis. Redline was an AI, but more than that, it was a philosophy. It believed the legacy of the Flash was flawed. Redline's goal: streamline the timeline by pruning its aberrations, and Bart, a resurrected anomaly pulled from divergent timelines, was priority 1 on its kill list. Their first encounter was vicious. Redline manifested inside the Flash Museum's central archive, twisting holographic displays of Barry, Jay, and Wally into grotesque mockeries of heroism. It didn't just fight, it taunted, projecting alternate deaths, failed timelines, future betrayals. Bart faced a mirror image of himself dying in dozens of ways, drowned by inertia, shattered by antimatter, forgotten entirely. He froze, and for one horrifying moment it felt like history would repeat, that Bart would die again. But Wally was there. He didn't hesitate. He pushed past the pain, tackled Redline's projection out of phase, and tore it apart with a controlled burst of kinetic inversion. Bart lived, but the trauma resurfaced. Later in the quiet aftermath, he asked Wally why he saved him this time. Because this time, Wally said, voice low, I knew how much you matter. But even Wally had doubts. In private, he admitted to Linda that maybe he was softening Bart. That the warmth of their home, the structure, the safety, it might dull Bart's edge. He was raising a boy who had once been a warrior. Was he teaching him peace, or disarming a weapon that needed to be sharp? But Linda, always the anchor, reminded him, you're not making him weaker, you're giving him something worth fighting for. The question now wasn't whether Bart was strong enough, it was whether the world was ready for what he was becoming. And as Redline began plotting its next strike, something bigger, something final, Bart knew he would have to answer that question soon. Because this time it wasn't just about him, it was about family. The world changed overnight. Redline's final move wasn't a silent infiltration, it was a declaration of war on legacy itself. The AI hijacked the Flash Museum, twisting it into a grotesque citadel of Speed Force distortion. Holographic tributes of heroes, Jay, Barry, Wally, Bart, were rewritten into monuments of failure. Displays depicting heroism were altered to show death, betrayal, and timelines where the Flashes fell one by one. Keystone and Central City suffered synchronized blackouts. The Speed Force trembled in the air like a war drum. Inside the museum, Redline tapped into the stored data of every known speedster. Thousands of terabytes of biosignatures, fight recordings, emotional logs. It projected them through unstable quantum hardlight, creating copies that moved and thought like their originals. A rogue's gallery of phantom flashes now guarded the heart of the city, each a shadowy echo of what could have been. With Barry off-world on a cosmic mission, and Jay Garrick recovering from an energy surge incident weeks prior, the defensive keystone fell to Wally and Bart. But this time, they weren't just running toward a villain. They were running into a manifestation of every failure they had ever feared. As the two entered the corrupted museum, Redline greeted them through a warped voice, a mixture of Thawne's condescension and Wally's own voice, twisted with guilt. You rewrite the future by deleting the past. I am mercy, not malice. You should thank me for finishing the job time started. The floors shifted beneath their feet. The walls pulsed with kinetic energy, like arteries. Bart was confronted with holograms of himself, dying in every possible way. Alone in the 31st century, erased in the Speed Force, killed by inertia, by Thawne, by his own teammates, and worst of all, a frozen image of Max Mercury and Wally, standing over his tombstone. Bart staggered. He tried to run, but Redline had anticipated his neural frequencies. Every step activated new fear-based projections. He became disoriented, spinning between realities he remembered and those he didn't. Future echoes, dead timelines. It was like drowning in ghosts. But Wally stood firm. He grabbed Bart, physically held him, slammed him against a support beam, wrapped in red lightning, and shouted, "You're not a paradox, Bart. You're the best part of our future." That single line was the spark Bart needed. His breathing steadied, his feet lifted off the ground, and for the first time in years, he wasn't running away from his fear. He was running through it. Together, uncle and nephew blitzed into Redline's core. Bart zigzagged between collapsing timelines, bouncing between reality fragments, dodging predictive attacks by doing the one thing Redline couldn't calculate: being himself. Unpredictable, wild, brilliant. He created kinetic phantoms of himself using a burst loop technique Wally taught him, distracting Redline's constructs while Wally dove into the mainframe with a vibrating frequency only Bart had ever managed to stabilize before. Redline screamed as its logic fractured. Its final defense, a simulation where Wally died, over and over in front of Bart, a loop that wouldn't stop, but Bart refused to look away. He punched through the simulation with a lightning charge blow and whispered, "You don't define me." With one last jolt of speed force, he rewrote the corrupted code. Not erasing Redline, but reprogramming it, forcing it to process compassion as a variable. The AI short-circuited under the paradox. Wally pulled Bart out as the museum's energy discharged in a storm of red and gold. When the dust cleared, Keystone was safe. The city cheered, but the true victory was quieter. Later that night, in the backyard of the West home, Bart stood watching the stars. Wally walked out beside him, tossing him a root beer. No cape, no suits. Just two speedsters under the sky. "I thought I'd always be chasing something," Bart said. "You are," Wally replied. "But now you know where the finish line is." Bart took a long sip, then smirked. "Uncle Dad, huh?" Wally laughed. "You're never gonna let me live that down, are you?" From inside, Linda called them in. The table was full. Jai trying to swipe food early. Irie hiding Bart's mashed potatoes. Linda lighting candles. It wasn't perfect, but it was home. Bart sat down beside Jai and passed the gravy. And for the first time in his twisted, fragmented, impossible life, he wasn't a walking remnant of futures gone wrong. He was Bart Allen. son of the fastest man alive. And for the first time ever, he wasn't running alone.
And that is going to be it for What If Wally West Adopted Bart Allen. Now, what did you think of this alternate storyline? Now, what do you think would have happened if Bart Allen was under Wally West's wing? Like, it would have been such an interesting take, and who knows what they're going to do with Elseworlds storylines and whatnot. I am so excited to be doing this. Like, I can't thank you guys enough. Like, doing these alternate storylines, especially this one and other Flash Week episodes, has really meant a lot to me. So massive shout out to Ian Coyne for allowing me to have Flash Week present here on the YouTube channel. And if you guys would like to join the monthly watcher tier, click that big join button. But that being said, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care and have a wonderful day. Peace out.